Welcome back to Sacramento and Company. As a published author, speaker, and nationally regarded media personality, Dr. Del Rosario has been accredited and pre- and post-marital counselor for more than 20 years. And her cutting-edge coaching solutions and innovative video training program, Best Marriage Keys, helps couples successfully work through problems and find healthy solutions. Dr. Jacqueline Del Rosario joins us now with marriage and relationship advice, and thanks for being here with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And probably a good time because the holidays can be kind of stressful for couples.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
a good time to hear what we need to do.
Yeah, definitely. So what is the importance of compatibility between partners? And then you talk about something called compatibility domains.
Yeah, that's really exciting because I think that most people, the burning question is, how will I know if I have the right person? And it's really centered around compatibility. Compatibility, think about it like this. How can two people kind of work alongside one another well if they're too different? And there's a misnomer. People say that opposites attract. That's opposite temperaments. But those core values and things have to be compatible. So the more similar we are with the person, the better off our relationship can be.
Okay, and we have a graphic up here right here listing the domains of compatibility. So marital beliefs, number one.
Yes. Marital beliefs involves role. What is the role of a wife to you? Now, wouldn't it be something if you thought a wife was someone that had a career, that raised children, that was independent, but then the husband wanted a traditional role?
Yeah.
Marital beliefs is really critical.
That would be a point of fighting right there.
Definitely. Also, if you thought marriage was forever, but your mate
Yeah.
didn't. So those marital beliefs need to be discussed.
Okay, you also talk about morals and values.
Very central. That's like what governs our life. Our values represent what we think is important. Our morals are how we shape our interactions. So if those are very, very different, think about it. I don't want to do drugs. I don't believe in that. I'm not going to have it in my house, but then my mate does believe in it.
Yeah.
You know.
Problems right there.
Very
I
much.
saw on your list finances, and I hear that that's probably the number one thing couples fight over. Is that true?
It makes up about 35 to 40% of the reasons motivating divorces. So finances are very critical. And you know, I hear people joke about, well, what am I supposed to do, get their credit score? Well, maybe not get exactly their credit score, but you need to talk about similarities and differences and come up with a plan that both people are amenable with.
That's smart. If you have that ahead of time, then you really can't argue about it because you both agreed to it.
Exactly.
Now, how do you know if you found the one?
I think you're going to have to know whether you're compatible. And some people think that, if I love them,
Yeah.
love is enough. Well, unfortunately, it's really not true. You got to love, and you also have to be compatible, and you have to agree more than you disagree on how you're going to govern your relationship. And so people are talking about a lot of things, but I find that they're not talking about the right things to make that assessment, and they really don't know how to add those things up, and that's what I want to help couples to do.
Nice, and you've helped a lot of couples. Now, what are the thoughts on marital counseling? Should you do it before your marriage? Should you do it during your marriage? Do some people not need it?
Well, I'm hoping to really revamp the way we look at marital counseling. Think about it now. You get your car tuned up once a year. You get an annual physical once a year. I think that most people think about marriage counseling in the fact of, well, we have problems, so we're going to go. I don't think that's true. Even if you have a good marriage, let's make it better. Marital counseling should be something that you do annually. Every year there might be an impasse or two that you meet in your relationship. Something you argue about, you tried to work it out, never seem to really quite do it. That little molehill can become a mountain if you don't really get those iron out the wrinkles. And so I think marital counseling, that third voice, can really help. And then, of course, if you're having difficulties and things are getting, a little bumpy, certainly it can help in that regard as well.
I bet. And do you find that people they'll open up more because they're talking to a stranger and they feel like you are in control and you can, talk between us?
Mm-hmm.
And I bet it just really helps people.
It does, because there's a lot of things that you don't see or recognize that third party can kind of view a little differently and help you to get together on some of those points.
Yeah, you talk about non-negotiables. Can you share that and what that means?
Oh, those are good ones. If you're talking about finding a mate and understanding how do you know that, non-negotiables have to be defined. You got to know what are those things that are deal breakers for you in the relationship, and you got to make sure that they don't exist in the relationship that you're trying to cultivate. So non-negotiables are deal breakers. Like for me, one is infidelity.
Yes.
Infidelity is a definite deal breaker.
Yeah.
You might have your own set of non-negotiables. And typically they're the first 5 things that you think are most important in your relationship and that you want to have in your mate. And so when those are present, you're going to be fulfilled in that relationship.
Yeah, and
most
shouldn't
likely.
you be looking for these non-negotiables in the dating phase?
Absolutely. And we got to teach people how to go through that discovery phase. That's where they mess up. You know, they get caught up in those other things like the feelings and, you know, the good times, but they don't know how to really discover how compatible we are. What are your feelings about this or that, the other thing, in the areas that are most important.
Yeah, and we talked about your innovative video techniques and everything you're doing. Talk about Best Marriage Keys.
Oh, I'm so excited about Best Marriage Keys. You know, we're in the 21st century. People don't want to feel as if they're being academic. Best Marriage Keys is a website. There's nothing like it out there. You get daily 1 or 2 minute video lessons, and it takes you through those 7 constructs or domains of marriage so that you can figure out areas where you're not compatible. So whether you're somebody that is about to get married, single, wanting to learn how to do it right, or somebody that's already married and might be having problems or no problems at all, it's going to help you to iron out everything in your relationship to know how to work through those different domains of marriage.
That's nice, and I bet that helps a lot of people. They might think, oh, no one else has this problem, and then they can go on the website and find, hey, there's an answer for me there.
Absolutely.
And you have another graphic, too, that we're going to show about the 5 keys of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
Well, the 5 keys of communication, I think communication is vital.
Yes.
I mean, we're communicating now. We're learning so much. But we got to know how to do that the right way. And so I want to teach couples how to interact, how to disagree, and how to agree successfully without it, you know, causing road bumps.
Well, disagreements can be good for a marriage, right?
Absolutely. Most people don't think so, but I look at disagreements in 2 ways. First of all, they're inevitable, so we have to accept that, and we got to get used to some sort of confrontation or conflict. But then number 2, we got to also welcome the fact that if we learn to fight fair, disagreement sometimes helps the relationship to evolve into another dimension. So sometimes it's just that little opposition that causes us to move onward in the relationship and to make adjustments as we're evolving.
Yeah, well, especially if you learn something you didn't know upset your partner, right? Mm-hmm. And you're doing it all the time and they never say anything, mm-hmm. and then they just blow up. That's not a good fight. But if you talk about it right away, I always think that honesty is the best. You can't go wrong if you're just being honest, because your feelings are valid.
That's right.
And if you just share them.
But again, everybody has to be authentic. I have to be willing to say, love me for who I am, and let me show you my authentic self. And so there's a part of a responsibility for you to feel comfortable being completely you and relying on the fact that you're lovable as you are.
Yeah, and as a marriage counselor, is divorce ever an option?
Unfortunately.